By telling me your name, sir.
My name is Chris Fancher.
All right. So we're going to be talking about the Cold War, an interview on that. What happened when you first heard of the Cold War?
When I first heard of the Cold War, because I was living in it, I was in elementary school, and we had our first and our only nuclear drill. And I was in first grade, and we'd go out in the hallway and cover our heads and all that stuff, which, now that I know what I know, it just means that we would have been a nice shadow, on the wall from our burned bodies.
Right.
But, so I lived, the whole time growing up until the end of the Cold War, I lived it, and being in the military, I always had to learn all of the Soviet Union's ships and aircrafts and missile systems and all this other stuff because we were worried about being attacked by them.
Right. All right. Have any of your family members or friends joined that war?
Joined the
Cold War.
Mean through by joining the military?
Yes.
Would you say? Okay. I was actually really the only one because my brother was 8 years older than me. So in 1967, the summer of love, he graduated from high school, and he instantly had a draft number, and then we always worried about him being drafted, and his draft number never came up where he had to go serve, so he could go to college and not worry about being yanked out of college or anything.
Right.
So I was the only one, and I really came in towards the end of it because when I went into active duty, it was in the mid-70s, and so it was still very important to us, but at the same time, we could kind of tell that neither side wanted to start this thing. Mm-hmm. Both, I think they were worried about us, we were worried about them, but neither side would really wanted to start anything.
Right. All right. Thank you. So, how did you feel towards the people from other countries during the war?
I've always been a person who likes to travel and likes to meet new cultures and new people. Mm-hmm. And so I always thought, if I actually went to Russia or one of the other Soviet controlled nations, that it would be fine, and I wouldn't have any animosity or any other hatred or anything towards them, and I would assume that in general they probably wouldn't think that way. But then again, a weird thing, when 9/11 happened, mm-hmm. I was living in Europe, and we used to tell people we were Canadian, and so because of the worry that what would it be perceived as an American.
Right. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Les Simpson.
Hi. So we're going to be doing an interview on the Cold War. Were you worried about enemies coming into the U.S.?
I was not really worried about enemies coming into the U.S. during the Cold War. For me, the anxiety came from nuclear warfare, which in that case there wouldn't have to worry about armies at all. It'd just be a radioactive mess.
Right. So, what's one war story you've heard so far?
One war story that I've heard so far?
Yes.
Give me an example of what you've heard so far, and I'll tell you.
Like, has a man come over and talk to you about the war and how he lost a leg or something?
Which war? World War II?
The Cold War.
The Cold War. I remember I've had my parents tell me and my grandparents tell me about the Cuban Missile Crisis. So that's the most that stands up for me as far as hearing stories about the Cold War.
Right. Thank you. So did you have any type of big event going on while this was all happening?
Yeah, it was my entire childhood, all the way up until my early teen years. Was the late Cold War era, the whole Reagan versus the Soviets era. That's what stands out most in my mind. I remember as a kid seeing on the news them talking about what they called the Star Wars Defense Initiative, about building satellites that were going to be able to shoot down nuclear missiles. I remember as a very young kid the crisis in the Balkans that almost brought the world to the brink of nuclear war at that point. It was a very real threat. I remember doing drills at school, the duck and cover things a couple of times because that's how they did things out in West Texas. We were prepared, to go up in a mushroom cloud, I guess.
Apparently so. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.